where are you in the concern level in terms of just how good we are?
I think we wish we were deeper than what we are. I think that goes unsaid. I think what we're having to make some adjustments on is how we practice. I don't know if you paid attention when the safeties were out there warming up before we're playing Texas, number 11 team in the country. We had 4 guys warming up in the safety line. So, we're too deep and that's it. So that's not ideal. But we're having to adjust some things on how we're practicing, not going as long. We can't be as physical in practice. A little bit of less good on good work just because of our numbers at certain positions, Secondary, obviously, and then on the offensive line as well. Those are two probably the biggest concerns.
Neal, you said you're not big into the legislation part of things, but having gone through one of these 4-game deals, is it imperative that coaches sit down now with seniors and talk more in the preseason about try to get a gauge or how happy or how content they are, or does the rule need to be tweaked first?
I don't know. I don't think it's probably the best to really speak on it right in the middle of the season. I think for me to give an educated answer, I'd have to sit back and really think about it. And I'm really not at that point right now. I think any rule, there's always unintended consequences. Probably as much as I want to go into it.
With Stewart gone, though, that stands to reason we're going to see a lot more of Tyke Smith. Haven't had time to see the tape of what he did Saturday. What do you think of the job?
And Tyke, he put himself in a position to play more before that. He's a guy that really, since he came on campus back in early June or late May, infectious attitude, loves football. There's no question. I mean, he's passionate about football. Loves the weight room, loves practice, loves the meeting, enjoys the grind of it, and that's special. You don't get that all the time, and you can see those guys starting to improve. 2 things happen to a true freshman, okay, is you get into the season and they really start inclining because they start feeling more comfortable and they start playing at a higher level, or the wear and tear starts wearing on them, and it's more mental than it is physical, and you can see a decline. He's one of these guys that's getting better and better. I thought he played huge. And I don't know if you asked me yesterday, but somebody asked me about him on the comp. The play to me that sticks out in that game more than anything is Duvernay is over in the slot. We zero blitz, and he's one-on-one with, I think he's in the top 5 in the country in receiving yards or receiving receptions. And he covers him and has a pass breakup down by the band. And that to me really stood out to me. It showed what kind of competitor he was, how he stepped up in a big moment. I think the game was 21-17 maybe at that time. So, but I'm impressed by him. I think he'll continue to get better as we go.
You mentioned the umbrella coverage that they use, and I know the prior staff really talked about some of the unique things. They give you a light box look, but it really doesn't come out. Go through that a little bit. Help me understand that a little better.
Yeah, so I've done a nice job. I don't know the complete history on it. Joe Lee Dunn used to do some similar things. I can remember as a player when he was at Mississippi State, and Vic worked with Joe Lee he'll say Memphis State, but it's Memphis. Don't tell him I said that when he comes in here. But he worked with him at Memphis, and I know they did some of those things too. But I can remember Joe Lee doing it as a player. But as far as Iowa State staff, I don't know if that's something they were doing at Toledo or what, but they've changed the league a little bit by what they're doing. They're playing a lot of 4-eye techniques, a head-up nose. They're playing a light box where they're presenting a 4 and a 5-man box, but it's really they're getting, when the ball goes to the belly of the running back, there's really 6 and 7 in the box. So it's really a total false read. And then they're playing 3 high safeties a lot. So they line up the 3 high safeties, and they can get to every single coverage you can possibly imagine from that. They can drop the guy in the hole and play a 2 look. They can drop him straight back and get to a cover 3 look. So it's really multiple. And they do a good job of confusing the quarterback. So credit to them. It's something that we spent a lot of time on in the summer. And so it's not like we just decided here in the last couple of days what we were going to do. We obviously looked at what they've done through the first 5 games, but we spent a lot of time on them this summer as well.
Hey, Neal, nowadays when you all spend so much time looking at film and you have analysts and things like that, and you want to be creative, it seems really strange though to have something that's unique. I know it's not truly unique to them anymore, but they kind of pull this out of their hat and people were surprised. As a coach, an innovator, or whatever you want to think of yourself, call yourself. Is that kind of fun just to see something like that and unusual?
Yeah, I think credit to them, because I think, you look at, there's still explosive offenses in our league, okay, and I think we, as a Big 12, we're still recognized as the top offensive league in the country, and notably so. I mean, and the teams that are at the top of our league offensively right now are still at the top in the country. But I think that, a few years ago when they started doing some of this, it's really changed the league. So I'm appreciative of that. As far as is them doing something different and it works. I think they have been unique, and like I said, it's tough. You see, we're such a copycat society, but copycat in football probably more so than anybody. So you see it spread out, like Texas uses a bunch of it last week, so it's helpful to kind of see some of the same coverage looks 2 weeks in a row. Baylor's using some of it. I know I saw them as they played against Iowa State, but when they started doing this, and it's kind of spread. I see Clemson doing it as well. So yeah, I do appreciate the fact that they were the first to do it.
These things have a limited shelf life too. People eventually adjust to it, but they've been able to stick with this for a while.
Well, they still get off blocks really well and they tackle really well. You know what I mean? I mean, when it comes down to it, and so I think things do have shelf lives, but if you go watch, I don't know who's top offense in the country right now. Is it Oklahoma? I don't know. I didn't look at the stats. I know it's not us, but I know it's not us, so I don't really look at them when I know we're not close to it. But if you look at it, and I'm using this as an example, okay, is John. So I would, without looking at it, I would probably assume that there's a lot of air raid principles in some of the top offenses. Well, those air raid principles have been around for 20-plus years now, but they're still good plays. And so same with this defensively. Even though they've been doing it for a few years, people have been studying it it's still successful because it's really sound, and they've done a good job recruiting guys for that as well.
You said that Stewart is not on the team this year now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that leaving the door open for next year?
No, I'm just dealing with the here and now, honestly.
Given your situation at receiver, how encouraging was TJ's response and his performance?
It was.
As hard coaching.
Yeah, he's that's why I've kind of put him. He's been in kind of a leadership role. He's got a little bit. He's older, but he's a guy that you can coach, you can correct. He doesn't take it personal. He's a guy that you can push. He understands that you have what's best for him in mind, and so I was pleased with how he responded. He had some big plays there across the middle. The other thing too is, if you look over our last 3 games, we've blocked on the perimeter really well, and he set the standard for that. The other encouraging thing, Mike, was Bryce Wheaton coming in, and we talk about it. You talk about it as a staff. It doesn't always work out the exact way you talk about it, but you talk about, hey, when somebody goes down, we feel really bad for that, and we hate that as a teammate, and we don't like it as coaches as well. But it does provide an opportunity. Now the opportunity is what you make out of it, and I thought Bryce Wheaton did a great job. Caught 2 big plays, one on a 3rd down, one on a 4th down for a touchdown in the game, and really set himself up to be a guy for us moving forward this year.
You've coached now for almost half a year in a Power 5 conference, and is there any difference that you've noticed in your job and what you're up against?
I think the recruiting is the biggest difference. Y'all have heard me say that before. The recruiting is the biggest difference. The thing about it, if I hadn't been a coordinator in a Power 5 league for 5+ years, I probably would have. There'd probably be a lot of adjustment. But being a coordinator in the SEC and in the Big 12 before, there really hadn't been a whole lot of surprises. But the biggest difference between Group of 5 jobs and Power 5 jobs, the ABC crew asked me, and I said, well, I'm talking to ABC rather than ESPNU or 2 or whatever. That's a difference. But as far as going to the work piece of it, is just recruiting. And the recruiting piece, just because it's 2+ years on every single class. That's the biggest difference.
But demands on your time. I mean, it's outside demands.
I see Tony Caridi a lot. There's more demands, but there's reason. More money, more demands. Good and bad.
A couple weeks ago, Padaway didn't play. It was because of the package.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same reason for Tevin Bush this week? Or?
Nah, we played bigger, Alex. If you notice, I thought last week was a game we needed to play bigger. Like we probably played our tight ends on the perimeter more than we played them all year, and we did that because they had bigger bodies as far as blocking, and we wanted to get bigger bodies in some of the seam stuff that we were doing. Tevin's been battling a little bit of a nagging injury, nothing serious, but that was some of the reason. He played on he played on our punt team and did a great job in coverage.
Going back to TJ, he's played inside and outside before. I think he was outside in his touchdown. Was that
He-
because of the situation?
Yeah, we played him outside some. Yeah, that was a good catch. We played him outside. We'll probably continue to do that as far as a mix-up, primarily staying in the slot, but we'll formation him some outside as well.
Coach, you mentioned you don't like to compare quarterbacks, but Purdy, what makes his running style so unique?
Well, they're using him running, and they're using him in multiple different ways. And I think he's got. I don't know what his 40 time is. I know he's ran away from several people. He's had some big explosive runs. So, but he's big enough to have and has the ability to run with power as well. I think this is I watched him over the summer, and I watched him play, and my takeaway after watching the summer is he's a good player. And he was a freshman at the time. I was like, he did some really good things for a freshman, had some really big moments. But then when I watch him, and I turned him on Sunday, and I watch him Monday, and I watch this offense, because you think about it, they lose. I don't. What round was the receiver drafted? Pretty high, right? Went to the Cardinals maybe, but big long guy. Then they had the running back that's playing in the NFL. All league player. I mean, and the offense was really built around those two guys. And all of a sudden, those two guys are gone, and he's better. You know what I mean? He's better and huge. Like I think the one of the most improved players in college football going back from last year, and I was just really impressed. And I'm not one that sits there and carries on about a bunch of different players, but they got two guys, and that quarterback and Purdy, and then the safety. Like I appreciate how they play the game.
Okay, thanks,
Anybody else?
Coach.
All right, thank you all.